That ain't good. I'm gonna show you how to fix that. And we're gonna do it right now. As you can see, I have a windowsill that is really rotted. And if I just squeeze that, well, you know what? There it is. So what's happening is water is getting in here. So I'm not just gonna fix this, I'm also gonna fix the water issue. You can see here, there is also rot here that has been going on for a while because I painted over this, I caulked over it, did some wood filler, and it just keeps getting worse. And what I think is happening is it's getting behind here. And the way it's getting behind here is if you look up, I think there is an issue up top where it's getting behind that top piece of trim. So what I'm gonna do while I'm repairing this sill is I'm gonna take off all this trim, figure out what's going on, and seal it up right. You can see it's happening on the other side as well. There's rot on the outside right here. Oh, and there's an ant. If I have ants here, I'm gonna be upset. But that's what we're gonna find out. That's not good. So first step, let's take this trim off and figure out what's going on, and then we'll worry about repairing the sill. Now, because I'm really curious, I'm gonna start on this side and see if we have some ant friends. I really hope I don't, but I'm gonna get behind here and start pulling this trim off. I don't want to break this siding, so I'm gonna go get a utility knife and cut the caulking along, all right here. Take a look right here. So this is fairly new, this right here, this framing, probably 2 years old when I remodeled the living room. So that is in good shape, so that's good. And it looks like, okay, so we're lucky. There's no rot right here. It's a little spongy, but it's okay. We're gonna cut this right out. And all this looks to be in good shape. So yeah, I don't see any ants. So I think we're in good shape there. Cool, let's do the other side. So on the back side here, you can see all this black. This isn't mold or anything. This is just water discoloration. And I think my assessment may be correct, or my assumption that the water is following the path behind the trim. You can see right here, this is all water discoloration. So the water is getting behind this. So I am still assuming that the problem is with the top piece of trim. That is really soggy. I'll take this piece off, if I can get a grip somewhere. Not messing up the window. Okay, same situation on this side. This is in good shape. Down here is in good shape. This right here is a little soggy, but that's okay. I don't have to get rid of all of the rot in this. There's a common misconception with rot. People think that it spreads like mold, and it can if it stays wet. But if you eliminate the problem and get the water out of here, it'll dry out and it won't rot anymore. So I'll get the majority of it out wherever I need to, and then the rest of it can just stay there and dry out. All right, top piece. What I think is going on is there's no rain cap up here, which there should be. So when I put it all back together, I'm gonna put a rain cap here and seal it up with caulking and hope that this doesn't happen again. Before I take this off, you can see right here, there's a big gap where this is a gable end, so I don't have an overhang where it'll protect it from water. Water gets on here when it rains, it'll roll down, and it probably gets back behind this gap here and rolls right down that trim. So as you're taking stuff apart, try and figure stuff out like that so you know what the problem is so that you can fix it when you put it back together. There we go. Oh, broken. Luckily I'm replacing all this trim. Yep, no rain cap. Keep track of those nails. It's 2 nails on the driveway. Don't want to run them over. Okay, so again, now that this is off, if you look over here, what a rain cap will do is make sure the water can't get back behind here, which is exactly what's happening. It has to be. And all this looks like it's in good shape. So now I'm just gonna assess how bad this is so I know where to cut it, and how far back it goes. So all this is rotted probably to about here. All this is gone. I'd like to have one solid piece all the way. What I could do is I could notch this like that and then have the piece of wood go back further and then Bondo this right here. I like to use Bondo for stuff like this. But what I'm gonna do instead, because I wanna have a nice solid piece all the way across, I'm gonna take my favorite tool in the world and I'm gonna cut this all at an angle right tight to the window like this. If this was rotted maybe just out here or on the side here, I'd use this little profile right here that's hard to see, but I would use that as a guide so I could go straight down like this. Since I'm going against the window, my angle is going to be like this. So what I'm going to have to do is match the angle on the piece that I cut to put in here, which should be no big deal. So I'm going to take my tool and cut this all the way along that window. Okay, I'm about halfway through with that cut. I just wanted to get the angle all the way. Now I can continue it all the way through. And let's see if I can split this. I'm pretty much through. Cool. Now I'm just going to clean this out, make sure I don't have any caulking or anything. And these pieces of siding on the back, I'm going to cut out. Just clean this up so when I put my new piece in, I have nothing in my way. What a mess. You can see all the different colored paints right here. Green, pink, and you can just barely see the brown right here, which was the color of the house when we moved into it. History of the house. I'm just scraping this caulking off here with a chisel, just so I can get as close to the window as I can. And this cut that I made right here is not perfect. It goes in further here. It's going to be hard to make it perfect with the angle that it's at, no matter what. But as long as I can get this tight up here and seal it up nice, I'm okay with that. So I'm just getting any of the excess wood off like this. Before I put the sill in, I'm going to fill in these sides. You can see they've been left open That trim was part of this window right here. It was a whole unit that just kind of went in. That's why there's a tongue and groove right here. So I'm gonna fill this in with 3/4, but I have to bump this 2x4 out because it's uneven from top to bottom. So I'll bump that out, put my piece of 3/4 in. It's not gonna be perfect here. There might be some gaps, but I wanna have something to nail to, and then I'll seal up over that. This is just to hold it in there. I'm gonna really attach it when I put my 3/4 in here. 2.5, 2.5, 3, 2.5, 2.5, so 2.5 and 2 7/8. But that'll attach my shim and my plywood. Awesome. Plenty of stuff to nail to now. If you're wondering why I'm piecing these, it's because I'm just using whatever I had around the house. I'm gonna scrape some of this caulking and paint off of here with my chisel, carefully. Try not to dig into the vinyl. And you actually might have a different situation here if you have a new construction window where it has the flange, so this might be different for you, but this is a replacement window. But hopefully it will help you no matter what. And now that I'm looking at this, I actually can get more insulation in here and up here. So I'll grab some insulation, I have some left over, and I'll put it wherever I can, wherever there's a gap like this. I'll just do fiberglass. I don't want to do spray foam because I don't want to accidentally make a mess and have it pour out all over the window. This piece right here is sticking past the window. That sat in the groove of the trim that was here, but I don't need it anymore, so I want it to be further back than this window, so I'll have no problems. And obviously right here, it's very easy to remove, but as I go up, I'll just have to chisel it out as long as it's back farther than the window. It's about to rain. I think we're gonna get this sealed up just in time. What I wanna do is I'm gonna use a waterproof membrane. I like flex tape. You guys know that if you watch me. I'm gonna seal this up all the way around here. Starting with the bottom, you wanna work from the bottom and work your way up. So that way, if water does get behind here, it goes from the top piece and then over to the side piece and then over the bottom piece. But on the bottom here, I wanna take these pieces of siding off for 2 reasons. One, so that I can get some flex tape from here to here, and then I can put the siding back. And that way, where there was a gap under here before, because this sill is actually thicker than a regular 2x4, it's an old piece of lumber, so it's a true 2x4. So I'll be able to reinstall this tight up to that, and I won't have as much of a gap. And you can see over here that it's gonna work out perfect because it's actually lower than this piece of siding the whole way. So let's take these pieces off to start. And I'm gonna do it very carefully so I can reuse them. And if not, I can get pieces of siding, but I would rather just reuse these. So as I take them off, I'm gonna label them, go from left to right. This is gonna be 1. Carefully and quickly before the rain. Just work up to the nail. Please don't split. Oh, that's okay. That happens. This is the thing. This is why I'm not gonna mess with the siding too much anywhere else, because this old cedar shake crumbles when you try and do stuff. First piece on the bottom. It's gonna go something like this. I haven't taken the back off yet, but it has a little bit of sticky, so I can do this just so I can cut it. And this is gonna be just a little extra step to seal everything up. Now I can take the plastic off, try and do it this way, because once you stick this to something, it is stuck. Stuff works awesome. I'm just gonna go up just a little bit like that. And I can peel the plastic as I go. Yeah. Seal it up. Okay, same thing. On this side, just gonna go over the window just a little bit. Sealed. Just barely over that. Okay. Little bit of a wrinkle right here. But that is perfect. All sealed up. Guess we're done for the day. So I got this sealed up just in time for it to rain. And right here, you can see I was a little short with the flex tape, so I just added a piece. And ideally, what I would do is I would take the siding out a little bit and try and get this as far this way as I possibly could to seal that up. But you saw how when I took the siding off down here, how it cracked and everything and broke. This is really brittle stuff, so this is the best I can do for this situation, or the best I want to do for this situation. So that's good. This is all sealed up. Now it's time to make a new sill and install that. So as a reference, I'm gonna go to the window next to it and see what we have here. And I wanna make it similar. As you can see, this one's in a little bit of disrepair, which I'll take care of at some point. But I just wanna get an idea of how this is made. So I'm gonna measure the distance from the window to the edge of the sill. And this has an angle, which is basically plumb with the house. And then it has this little profile piece here that I'm gonna recreate. So on this one, you have options of, you can make this out of one piece, which would be bigger than a 2x4. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna piece it together because that's gonna be easier. So what I like to do is make a mock piece This is not the actual piece I'm going to use. I just want to get an idea of how I'm going to do this before I actually cut everything and install it. So I did this out of KD. I'm going to be using pressure treated, but I did some 15-degree rips on the front and the back where it attaches to the window. And I cut it to length, and I'm just going to slide it in place where the other one was. And right off the bat, probably what you're going to notice is this right here is obviously ugly, and I don't want that to happen. I have an idea of how to cover that up. I have the option of cutting that back and leaving it there, but I want that there to stop the water from being able to come in here. So my trim on the side of the window will come down like this. Keep in mind, this is all just a mock-up, so I can figure out what I'm gonna do. And right here, to cover this up, I'm gonna rip down a piece of pressure treated and put it in here, which will work out nicely because, as you can see, this is set in further than this. So instead of caulking this in, I'll be able to kind of fill in that gap just like that. And then to create that profile right here, I'll rip another piece, kind of like that. And then I'll caulk and paint all this, and it'll all look like one piece when I'm done with it. If you look from the side, I'm just eyeballing this, but you basically want this to be the same as the house, pretty much plumb here and plumb here. And that looks pretty good. So I think I'm gonna go with a 15-degree angle. If it was, say, like this or like this, I would adjust it accordingly. But 15 degrees looks like it's gonna work. I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't like ripping angles like this on the table saw. When it's a piece this size, if it was a little bigger, that's fine, but I'm working by myself and I like to work safe. So what I like to do is I like to cut them all with a circular saw. And I just get a piece that is much bigger than I need. This one, of course, is overkill. This is a 2x8 by 8, I believe. But I had this laying around, so you can do it however you want if you want to use a table saw, but I'll show you how to do it just using a circular saw. Also, you might not have a table saw, so this is how you do it with a circular saw. First step is I'm going to cut one square end. I'm just going to make a mark a couple inches past where I actually need the sill to be. I'm going to mark about a ½ inch in and a ½ inch down here. I'm going to mark that with my 4-foot level. Now I'm going to set my circular saw to 15 degrees right there. That line lines up with the 15-degree mark, and then I can tighten it down. Now I have my angle, and I can rip my line that I just made. That's one. Now I can measure from the window to the edge of the sill here, and that looks like 2 3/16. So this is the top right here. I want to go 2 3/16, like so. And that's going to be the second angle that I rip. It's going to be like this. So if you picture this going against the window, if it's turned this way, this is the angle that goes with the house. So I want to make that same mark on the other end. So I'm going to measure from here, where it's not cut, 4 3/8. So I'll mark that down on the other end, make a line, and cut that. So if you match up the old piece, that looks good. And this, since it has the same angle on both sides, will work as far as this being the top of the sill or the bottom of the sill. So if I flipped the old piece around, Now this is the bottom, and you'll notice right here, this is called a drip groove, and I want to recreate that in here, and there's a reason for this. The purpose for this groove is that rainwater goes onto the top of the sill and comes down here, and what it can do is actually creep up this way and get to the house. So if you put a groove in there, it will get to this groove and it won't be able to follow that little groove up. So instead, it will break the path that that water is following and it'll drip to the ground instead of going to your wall. So I'm going to recreate that on this piece here. So again, this is acting as the bottom of the sill. I'm going to make a mark right at 3/4 on both ends. And then I'm just going to take my saw, set it, and just do a saw blade. And that will create the drip groove. Now I can change the angle back to 0 on my saw, and then I'm going to set it. I'm going to unplug it first. Then I'm going to set the depth. So that it's something like that. Taking this back up. Okay. I want this groove to be just a little wider, so I'm going to do another pass and try and make it 2 saw blades thick. Yeah. Sweet drip groove, man. I'm going to measure the width of the sill. 39 3/4, little shy. 39 3/4, little shy. There's our sill. See if it fits. That is looking good. Since this side right here is going to be facing the window, I'm not going to be able to paint it, so I want to treat it so that it is protected from water. And I'm going to use this cut and treat, pressure treated wood. This will just seal it just like paint would. I'm going to do just a coat of this. Now I'm going to install the sill. I'm going to use exterior screws. These ones are 3-inch. They might be a little short. I might have to go get longer screws, but I'll try and sink them right in so I can pull this sill in. So I'm just going to set it up where I want it. And I know that I want this side tight because I've already measured, but basically what I want to do is make it even from the window. It's 1 1/4 inches, and then that is about 1 1/8 inches. So I'm going to do this one tight up to here and just get into something solid. Remember, there was a bunch of rot here, so I'll try and get into that plywood at least to start. You could countersink these and see how it goes. Nice. I sunk that in quite a bit, so I'm into something solid. And over here, I just hold this where it needs to be. So the sill is even from here to here, and on this side, here to here, but it's also showing me that it's a little out of level. So I'm gonna split the difference. That's kind of what you do with old houses. I'm gonna go up just a little bit so that this is a little off and it's a little out of level, and it's just in between. Nice. Nice. That is solid. I'm gonna fill these holes right away. I'm gonna use Bondo. I really like Bondo for stuff like this. I'm gonna use the Bondo wood filler, and that way this will dry and I can get a second coat on it, and then I can sand it by the time I do everything else, and then I can paint. So I'm gonna fill those right away right now. Now I'm jumping up top. I'm gonna put that rain cap in that I was talking about that's missing here. It slides up under this siding. I'll show you what it looks like right here. So it's gonna go in just like that, and I'm gonna try and get as much of this up as possible. If I have to trim this down a little bit, I will. Like there's nails right here that are probably gonna interfere. We'll see if I can take those out so I can get this up there. I'm gonna grab a pry bar and just see how I'm looking all the way. Oh, that one's coming out. I think the head broke off of that one. I can go up there, even if I'm just bending the nails. We'll try that. There's some tar paper that I'm gonna try and get behind all the way here. I'm just trying to bend it up a little bit. Okay. Now, I'll see if I can get this up there. There's always a pain in the butt with old siding. There we go. Cool. Now we have a rain cap. As the water rolls down here, if it does get behind, it won't have anywhere to go, and it'll drip down over the trim. Cool. Now I want to see how wide I'm going to make this trim. I'm going to make sure that that is about what the sides are going to be. Now we're going to test fit this. That looks great. And I'm using wood. You could use vinyl, but I have wood everywhere else on this house. So any of the windows anyways. So I'm gonna use wood, and before I put this in, I'm gonna paint all of the unprimed surfaces. I'm also gonna load up this right here with caulking. As you can see, I'm not messing around this time. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I got my piece. Install it. Now I'm just going to use my finish gun to nail this in. I have galvanized nails in here. Exterior grade. This looks pretty good. I'll just clean up any caulking that may have spilt over to the siding. I'm going to caulk this in afterwards too, but I just want to clean it up so it doesn't dry up on me. Okay, this is totally dry now, so I'm going to add just another coat so I can sand it smooth afterwards. On the bottom of the side pieces of trim, I'm gonna have to cut this at an angle because the sill's at an angle. So I'm gonna cut a test piece before I do it on the actual pieces. So the way I'm gonna do it is on my chop saw, I'm gonna move this and I'm gonna start with a 15-degree angle, just like the sill is. And that's what it should be. I might have to fine tune it, but we'll start right here. Okay. Okay, 15-degree angle. We'll test it out. That looks pretty good for me. So for the two side pieces, I'll cut 2 of these angles before I change that chop saw back to a straight cut. I'll measure the side pieces so I have those measurements and I can cut them right away. 52 3/8 to the short point of that angle. 52 1/2 to the short point. 1/8 inch off. We should rip the window out. Just kidding. All right, do a quick test fit. And that is perfect. So I'll make sure the other side is good, and then we can paint all the cuts. Now I'm gonna add some caulking to the siding here. I'm gonna be pretty generous with it because I don't want this to have any more water issues. Oops, I missed. I'll go against the window. Between the window and the flex tape. Now when I put my piece in there, it'll smush that caulking in and create a nice seal. Get it as tight as I can. And tight to this siding without smashing the window. Yeah. Now I'm going to clean up that caulking wherever it may have spilled over. Now caulking on this side, same deal. Load it right up. And you can put this piece in the same way. While I'm here, I'm going to measure for this piece right here. 28 5/8 strong. I decided to rip down some of the pre-primed pine that was left over from the window trim to create this little profile right here. So this is going to go in just like that, and then that other piece is going to go right here. With this, I'm not going to paint the backside. Sorry guys. What I am going to do is I'm going to add another bead of caulking right here and then nail it into place. Now I can measure for this piece. More caulking, and I'm gonna fill this right up. Yep. And in fact, this is going to be held in just by caulking, because a nail will probably break that plastic. I can sneak this piece in there. Wow. Okay. I took the nails out of the old siding. I'm going to reinstall it. Some of it broke, some of it looks terrible, but if you've seen the rest of the siding on my house, it's basically going to match it. So until I reside this whole thing, I'm not gonna worry about it. So just go piece by piece. Try and make it look as good as we can. And a little tip for you, so I don't split it any further, you turn the nail around, give it a little bonk on the end here, it'll push the wood instead of separate it. That's the thought anyways. And I'm gonna go in a different location than the nail that was already there since they were bigger nails. I'll go up here. Old houses, man. I think what I'm gonna do is hit this with Bondo afterwards and try and make it look a little better. We're not building a brand new house. This is siding from 1940, so it is what it is. Okay, let's do some Bondo. I put a little more hardener in this time because I want this to set up fairly quick so I can sand everything out. Let's do some work on this siding. I could go crazy here with the Bondo because of the shape that the old siding's in. Do the entire house. I'd be here for a year. This one. Then I'm going to use the rest of this on these nail holes. So the Bondo is dried or cured. I'm going to sand it out with a random orbital sander. And I definitely recommend you wear a mask when you're sanding this. Speaking of, huge shout out to RZ Mask for sending these out to me. They sent me a couple masks. They're awesome, comfortable, easy to put on. And I'll leave a link in the description over to where you can get one. Now, as I do this, I'm gonna round over this edge a little bit and this edge just to match the other sills on the house. Just a little bit. All that's left is to caulk this in and paint it. And I got this DAP Dynaflex, it's paintable caulking. It was more expensive than the caulking that I usually get, so I'm hoping that it works better than the caulking that I usually get. Basically just gonna caulk in anywhere there's a gap. Along here, along the siding, down on the bottom on the sill, just everywhere that I can, and then paint the trim white, and then touch up the siding where I sanded it and Bondoed it. Well, I would say that that is a lot better. That's only one coat of paint. I do another one, and I think this thing is gonna look even better. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Okay, same situation on this side. There's a big ass bee. Get away. What's smoking? Is it this or the wood? Maybe this. I'm putting it to the test. Sick. Huh? Yeah, we're YouTubers. Damn it. Now if I measure from the window to the wall. Dang, yo. Is that important? Is that an SOS for mama? Important tax return documents. Day late, $1 short, bro. I asked for that months ago. Anyways, Shakira. Where'd my hammer go? There's my hammer go. These two pieces. Oh, this first piece. Oh, this one piece. This one piece. My poor ladder. I mentioned I'm not good at painting.